Okay, so here we are. We're here with the lovely and talented Victoria Guthrie, who I've known for a number of years, who has been in lots and lots of films and theater and television. And so we're very thrilled to have you here with us, Victoria. Bravo.
Yeah.
Why don't you start out, tell us a little bit about yourself, right? Your background, where you're coming from, and you know, maybe something about your training, and tell us, you know, a little bit about the work you've done.
Well, originally I'm from Michigan, and I came to New York when I was 18. I ended up falling into the modeling industry, and eventually I started to look for other things to do because I figured I couldn't be a model forever. Although there's a lot of older models now, so maybe that's not true. But I ended up taking an acting course to see how I liked that, and I found it to be like therapy. I found it very therapeutic, and I ended up signing up for a Meisner, 2-year Meisner technique course, which I did at the Phil Gushy studio. And I really enjoyed it, not only from an acting perspective, but I found that it was able to help me understand myself a lot, so that I could reach a neutral sort of understanding of myself. Because prior to that, I could have little phobias, like if someone was talking over there quietly, I might think, oh, they're talking about me. But then after I neutralized, I said, well, you know, they're not talking about me. They're talking about whatever, their life or whatever. You know? So I became more neutral, which helped me to be able to analyze characters and to step into other characters' shoes, so that I could make my opinions and give them their own voices, their own beliefs, their own self-doubt, as opposed to having whatever ones that I had. And that was like my first foray into acting. After that, I moved on to a scene study at Terry Schreiber, where you and I met. And Terry was awesome. He has a little bit of the method. He has a little bit of everything, really. And I just really learned how to use a toolbox of tools. If it's the method, if it's Meisner, if it's Uta Hagen, and just to be able to plug in what I needed for whatever I was working on. And in terms of the types of work, I've done all kinds of work. I've done well over 100 films, commercials, plays, and I've had a lot of fun doing that. In the indie world particular, I've had some really nice wins. Prior to COVID, I was at the London International Film Festival, and I was nominated alongside Daryl Hannah for Best Supporting Role. And yes, because I love Daryl. And then I was also nominated twice alongside Kathy Moriarty. So it was just a wonderful feeling to be nominated with such, you know, wonderful, brilliant female actresses, and it's just a lot of fun. It makes you feel good to be recognized by your peers.
Of course. Nice, very nice. Yeah, please. And it's, you know, it's rewarding. It's gratifying, the fact that you are in the company of acknowledged actors and you know, big name actors, and you think, you know, and here I am. Fabulous. Okay. Victoria, so I think a lot of people are always curious about how actors, you know, how is it that we do the work that we do? And I know, as you said, you've got a real toolbox, right? I feel like sometimes the best actors are the ones with the most tools. And so you've done work with Schreiber, who's a lot of a method guy, and you did Meisner training and all that, and that gives you a lot of different ways to work. What are the ways that you like to work? And when you come into a rehearsal, you come into a set, you come into a film, you come into a play. How do you like to approach the work? How do you like to work with other actors and so forth?
Well, so the first thing I do before any of that is I read the entire I don't want to envision myself in the role. I just want to read it. And then after that, the most important thing is creating the who am I, taking the cues, whatever clues I can find in the script, and writing them down, and then filling in whatever blanks there are. So I need to know who I am, who are my mom and dad, what were my happiest moments in life, what were my saddest moments in life, and I have to create my personal history, even if it's not in the script that we're going to be doing. It's still there because I'm a walking, talking person with a background, and whatever choices that I make today were affected by things that happened to me when I was younger. So that's like key. And then after that is who am I talking to? Did I just meet this person? Did I know them since I was 15 years old? And if so, then what was our history? And then just what are my relationships? So it might even be a person who's not even in the scene, but if somebody mentions their name, I have to know the same thing with them. You know, what's my relationship with them? How long did I know them? What was our experience? It's really specificity, being as specific as possible. And this, of course, you can just keep building. So that's the beauty, I guess, if you're doing a play, is you could be doing a play for a year and you can just keep building a history and find on your last performance, which happened to me once, that you were like, oh my God, this is like a new thing I just discovered. So
yeah, wow, yeah, this is what I've been doing all along. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's when you mentioned Uta Hagen. I mean, that was a key thing for Uta. There was that kind of specificity and detail about what is everything in this room. It means something to me. Yeah, because like you know, like real people, dramatic characters, you know, they have a life and they have a background.
Exactly. So you start with that, and that you can just keep building that for as long as you're doing the role. You can just keep adding. And then, of course, is your moment before you enter whatever scene you're in. If it's on a film or a play, very important to know, was it raining out? Was it hot out? Did I curse out the cabbie? Whatever the situation is, I have to have an emotional life coming from somewhere when I come in.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to break down the beats. I like to have a clear, I like to have an overall scene title, which could be a savior scene or a love scene or you know, a fight scene. But then after that, there's the individual beats, the objectives that I'm trying to achieve, and the ways that I'm going about trying to achieve them. And then if I want to go even more into it, then I can look at each line, and I can, you know, ideally I would never really want to say more than 2 lines kind of in the same tone. I like to shift it a little bit. That's getting, you know, that's when I'm really breaking it down. When I'm ultimately getting out of, like, you're just going at that point, and the magic just happens. But in the beginning, I like to think about all of these things individually. I like to look at the words, and I like to underline the key words, the words that I feel are the most important words in the sentence, the words that I would like to somehow emphasize or stand out a little bit to get the point across. And my favorite thing to do is to improvise the scene. Not that I'm going to do it in performance, but I like to improvise it just to find my true self in the line or in the scene. Mm-hmm. So the way that I might say something, you know, even if you just read a scene really quickly, it's like you pretty much can put down the paper and you can pretty much kind of do the scene, and you may not see exactly the same way, but you will get the gist of the true you and how you would get to these various points. You know, there's certain things that happened in it and you're going to get there, but how you get there, you can improvise it and find it, and then you can find some more personal truth. I like to do that. And I like to bounce back and forth just with one line and just say it my way, and then say it how the character would say it.
Yeah, no, I think you said it beautifully. I mean, I think a lot of people are just they think the actors just get up and we just start doing it, and blah 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 blah, and it's a process, you know. It's a process. Then there's a where you start, and there's a beginning, and then there's a middle, and there's an end, and there is, you know, there is the whole memorization process, but there's also, yeah, finding, like you said, you know, the personal truth in the moment. Nice. I remember Betty Buckley. You've probably heard this story. You worked with Betty. That Betty was doing a film with Harrison Ford years ago, and you know they only had a couple of scenes together, but she really, and she's a theater actress, and she really wanted to rehearse. And apparently he was like, "I don't do that." And what do you do when you're, especially when you're working with stars too? Some of these guys, they're like, they're going to go up there and they're going to give you like 5 or 6 or 7 takes, and that's it. And you got, what happens when you're in a situation where people don't want to rehearse?
Happens, and guess what? The bigger the name is, the less chance you are going to have any rehearsal with them. um,
Nice.
So yeah, so I think again, you just have to really improv that scene with a friend or with other actors or whatever. You just need to really know it inside out. That's what I would do. So I would feel really comfortable. I've been in situations where people didn't want to rehearse, and because I came from a theater background, yeah, I find that I could get a little like, oh, you know, like I want to make sure, but I've been fine with that, and sometimes it brings a different type of excitement. It's almost more like to me, it's almost more like on an opening night where things may not be as deep and as settled in, but there's just an excitement, there's an energy, as opposed to you last day and all of the characters seem so much more comfortable in their skin, and they seem like they really are who they are. They're both very exciting, but just in a different way. So I embrace the fact that all actors are different. It's going to be a different experience every time. Directors are different too, you know. There's some directors, they don't want to rehearse at all, and then there's other ones that I feel that they want to rehearse to such minutia that it gets in danger of being over rehearsed. I don't really think we should definitely say we want this word to be inflected up. You know, I mean, it's again, so it's just a fine line. But I play the game. I'll find fun in playing the game and trying to approach it however the people in the team that I'm working with want to. I'm just always open to playing. That's what I call it.
I think you're really smart when you say that. Yeah, you've all had experiences with, sometimes you have wonderful directors and sometimes you have so-so directors, and then sometimes you have, you know, not so great directors. I mean, how much do you personally expect from directors? I mean, I know they're all different, but do you go in with any specific expectations from directors, or do you always think that you're going to have to kind of be on your own and work with your own system?
I would always assume that I need to work from my own system, and then I'll just find it as icing on the cake if, you know, it goes above and beyond that. It usually will fall somewhere in between, but yeah, there's some people that really just give you nothing. So, you know, you're the one who's on camera, and I don't want to look like a fool. So I'm going in there, and at the same time, I also, you can't go in like locked in. If you have an idea and then they want something completely different, it's like, okay, yeah, let's throw it on the wall and see what happens.
Yeah, right, exactly. As you know, you can't have fixed ideas in your head, and maybe even, you know, and you know, we know these actors that come into the first day of rehearsal and they've completely memorized everything. And I don't know how you feel about those guys, but I always think when I come in and I realize the actors he's memorized the entire script, I just think, oh, God damn you. Now we're stuck with this. I don't know. Yeah, because then where do you go with that? How do you backtrack from that?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've had some pretty text-heavy scripts, and if you have, you do, I do find that there's a natural rhythm by working with your other actors, your ensemble, that you'll find just naturally by doing it together. But I still might try to memorize certain parts if it's a really, really. There've been scripts like It's Only a Play, for example, I did, and I know the guy that played the producer, his text was just, I mean, it was like monologues after monologues. I mean, that guy had to. He was still like opening night was cramming to try to get. I'm like,
Oh no.
I'm like, just give him a list. He's got that big list of all of the writers. He goes on and on. It's like, so I guess everything's a fine line. But yeah, in an ideal world, if you can just find the truth with the people, it will come natural. Yeah.
Nice. In class, one of the things that we work on a lot, and I know that when we were in class together with Schreiber, we did a lot of what we call substitutions, which, again, people who are not in the acting world may or may not have any idea what we mean by that. But, when I'm talking about working with a substitution, a person or a place or an object, or I don't know, a sensory overall, something like that. How much of that work do you do?
A lot, yeah. I love substitutions. I love them. I mean, just for people, for relationships, but also for more abstract things. One of the most, I always think this is really funny, but one of my, I played like a religious zealot in a film that I did, and it was really funny because I have all these speeches about God and all of this, and I'm not really like a super religious person. I there's some energy out there, something that seems larger than us, but I don't specifically call it, God. So I had to become this religious zealot. Now, how do I do that? I'm like, so it's like, I'm just like this, runaway wild kid, So it was really funny. I ended up like in my head substituting, you're gonna laugh, but I substituted in my head every time I was talking about God and the importance of God, I ended up substituting money, and it worked so wonderfully. Yeah, and it was because, like something you have, and you could build a foundation in your life, and you can do all these things and have choices, and you can create your destiny. It was like whenever but that was just an example of an abstract. Yes.
Oh, that's terrific. Well, and that's perfect too. I mean, I have a friend, unfortunately or unfortunately for so many people, money is God. So yeah, that's a great choice. Do you have any particular advice that you might want to offer as far as like, the new kids, the newbies, actors, actresses just starting out in the field? Any thoughts you want to throw out there on that subject?
First, I would say is to have a clear North Star. You can change it, but have a clear North Star. Some people just kind of like go out and whatever comes in my lap, I'll go that way. But if you want, like, I give this experience from, if I go back on my career, these are things that I would have done to have gotten myself to certain places faster, for example. So I would have had a clear North Star, like I want to do television or I want to do theater, and I would specifically try to meet the agents and the people who represent people who do that type of work, and I would just think of that every day. What can I do? What can I do today to, if my North Star is television, to be on television? What can I do to get closer to this goal? That would be one thing. Mm-hmm. And then I would say is to always take some sort of an acting class, because you need to continue to just have a free place to experiment, a free place where it's not result driven. So auditions are result driven, and you will need to put something in by a certain time. So just to be able to have fun and fall on your face if it doesn't work. And I think that that's really important. And with that would be, if you start to feel down, if you love acting, always I would say to myself, did I do some acting today? If acting is part of your soul, it doesn't shut up. It's there all the time. You know, it's always like you try to go do something else, but then it's always going, hey, I want to come out, let me out. You know, so you need. So if I'm just paying bills and doing all this other stuff, and I'm starting to feel like down and depressed, it's like, hey, I'll just get out some Shakespeare sonnets and just start doing them in my living room. And then guess what? Y'all feel better. So always just to embrace that really, for me, and I think for most people who want to act, and when you like open your arms and you say, well, you know, what's going to make me feel happy? What's going to make me feel satisfied? And it's usually to act. So
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, actors you need to be busy. You need to be loose, like you said, and not everything needs to be result orientated or you know, goal driven. It's not always yeah, sure, you want to book a job. Yeah, you want to get a commercial. Yeah, you want to get a part. But that's how the agents think, you know, and that's their focus. Whereas, you know, you're an actor. I mean, you're an artist. Sometimes, yeah, you give yourself permission to go out there, like you said, fall on your face or just fail or try different things. And it doesn't always have to be a bottom line issue. Nice. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Okay. Hey, this has been wonderful. Victoria Guthrie, it's great talking to you. Hey, before we go, you have anything that you'd like to talk to us or tell us about, projects, things you're working on, places you're going, things you're doing? Where can we catch you?
I'm going to get back to you on that. I'm talking with a director right now, someone that I've performed with in one of his films quite some time ago. So we may be shooting a project in October. So I don't want to definitely say anything more than that at this point because it's not 100% solidified. But it will be very cool, and I'll let you know. So I'll give you an update on that. I'm probably going to know in the next couple of days about that.
Okay. All right. Fabulous. Well, you know, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you, as always. Thank you so much for coming on with us, Victoria. It's always wonderful to see you. You're beautiful as ever. Okay.